now our speaker. I'd like to introduce to you Minnesota MUFON Raul Guerrero. Raul will be presenting Blue Skies at Midnight. So, Raul is a lifelong experiencer. He's 45 years old and he holds an AAS degree in Culinary Arts, Hospitality, and Business Management from the Cordon Bleu. I think we're going to be inviting Raul to come back and cater some of our meetings. It sounds like he'd be the guy to have. He's currently a foreman operator with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the I.B.E.W. He resides in Glencoe, Minnesota, just 25-minute drive from the location where this experience is presenting today took place. So I'm really looking forward to hearing his presentation, Blue Skies at Midnight. So Minnesota MUFON, please help me in giving a big round of applause to Raul Guerrero. Raul, take it away.
All right, thank you, Tom, and thank you everybody for being here today. This is my first go around at actually presenting uh, the event that took place. I hope I don't do too bad here. A little nervous. I also got to step up my computer skills game and get some PowerPoint going on, but I did take some pictures to share with you all today. Hopefully, I can present them well enough for you to see. But anyways, without further ado, I'm here today to share an experience with you all that has lived with me for the last 33 years of my life. It has become such a part of me that now it really just is who I am. I go through my day to day with little interruption, but when my mind drifts for more than a few moments, it's there. And it's there with as much clarity and as the night it took place. And although it's not the only memory I have from that time, it is without a doubt the most full, intact, and even seemingly tangible memory I have of any of my memories from that time. For years, this experience consumed me. What could it mean? Why was I chosen? Was I chosen? Was this just cosmically random? Where did they come from? Do they come back to check on me? Are they friendly? Are they malevolent? Why doesn't everybody I tell this believe me? Do they think I'm crazy? I mean, it would take me 90 minutes alone just to go through all the questions that have run through my mind over the years. But slowly, over time, I have come to accept that yes, they do come back periodically to check on me. And although I do not feel they are malevolent, I also feel that they do not necessarily wish us well. Rather, I feel that they are indifferent and they have a purely scientific methodology. They are perhaps curious of us, and absolutely, without a doubt, they are enigmatic. Um, so, to the experience, my experience starts on a nice, warm summer night, small town, Brown, Minnesota. It's got a population of around 300 people. I am 12 years old at this time. I'm staying the night at my friend Marshall's house. So we were, typical kids doing typical things with the bucolic backdrop. We spent the day riding our bikes. We were throwing rocks in the creek, walking the train tracks, and sneaking under the bridge to smoke cigarettes that we'd stolen from Marshall's mom, as kids will do. Um, and it's hard to imagine now that the kid that I was under that bridge was going to be forever changed by the events that were about to unfold just hours later. Everything I understood of the world would be skewed from that moment on. Everything I thought I knew would have to be reset and include this newfound knowledge, this experience. And the knowledge is that we are not alone. We are not the be all and end all. We are a piece of a much bigger puzzle, and we do not have all the pieces. And would my life be different if this event never took place? It's really impossible to know, and I have long since stopped trying to imagine that life. Um, it's been a long time. um, but continuing here, so evening was setting in. Every kid in Broughton knew that when the 6 o'clock whistle blew, you better be on your way home for dinner, And so never wanting to miss a meal, we headed to Marshall's place. It seems kind of strange now after living in major cities that every kid in this town could hear the same whistle from anywhere in town. But after dinner, we settled in for what was to be a long night. So as is custom with preteen sleepovers, my friend Marshall and we planned on staying up as late as we possibly could. Playing Nintendo, eating snacks. Um, well, we ran out of snacks. So what do our brilliant minds decide to do? Since it was around 11:30 p.m. At this time, the only option for snacks for us was to sneak out of the house, ride our bikes the half an hour journey or so to the lake where they had a concession stand. So obviously the stand was locked up at this time of night, but neither myself or my friend were choir boys, and we were in desperate need of sugar and hooliganism. So we snuck out. We hopped on our bikes. The road leading out of town for Marshall's was less than a half block from his house from the front step. So it took us no time to slip from what I would say the betrayal of the porch lights and into the cover of night. Um, but once over the first hill heading north out of town, we saw headlights. So we both make for the ditch, try to hide in the tall grass until the vehicle passes. And this is amazing too. This isn't the event yet, but when we hit the ditch just lit up with fireflies, just like a tornado of fireflies, like a whirlpool of light just radiating up from the grass. It was beautiful. It was magical, even. But before I could express any of these thoughts, the car had passed, and Marshall began just grabbing handfuls of them, smashing them, rubbing them on himself. Everything, bike. I mean, so of course, not wanting to be outdone, I did the same thing. So, pretty soon, over arms, faces, bikes, everything was glowing with the luminescence of these fireflies. Probably not the best move for a couple of kids trying to hide themselves from oncoming vehicles, but choir boys weren't the only things that we were not. We obviously were not rocket scientists either. So, um, but I feel bad about the lightning bugs when I think back on that. It's funny. I feel more bad about that than actually, breaking into some place to steal candy and stuff. But that's neither here nor there. But so after a half-hour journey, which turned into more like 45 minutes because we're jumping in ditches and doing all that, we finally made it out to the lake, and without much trouble from the old door and the old hinge padlock, we busted in. So we brought a couple bags with us, and we filled them with our ill-gotten goods, and we got out as quick as we could, hopped back on our bikes, and headed back towards town. Um, so we made it back to the edge of town. Okay. So here I'm going to try to show you guys some pictures. If it'll work out for me. Like I said, I got to get better at my computer skills here. But you can see, I don't know if it's easy for you to see or not, but that's Marshall's house here, and this is the road that leads straight out of town, which takes you up this hill. Let's see where we're at here. Up this hill to the bridge that goes out of town here. So right outside that, right after you cross that bridge and start heading north out of town, this is what you see. This is the road. This is the road. That's the bridge right here, and this would be Marshall's house right over here. So this right here is where we stopped to kind of just get into our goodies. We figured we'd stop and we'd have some snacks before we actually made it back to his house. So we stopped. It was approximately half a mile from that bridge, and it goes over Buffalo Creek. It connects in town from out of town. And at this distance, it was still just dark. We were still just in the dark. There are no street lights. There was one right at the bridge, visible from our vantage point, and that light really only lit up like a 30-foot section of the pavement. So anyways, I was standing there eating my chips, and Marshall was eating something. I can't really remember, but it was dark. It was very dark. If I can show you this. So this is I went to the same spot both during the day and at night. So if you see this picture of the road that I showed you earlier, and that's the street light way down there. This at the time of night that we were there, this is the same picture right here. So as you can see, this light is new. 33 years ago, this church wasn't there. It didn't exist. The farmhouse light didn't exist. And all these lights didn't exist. It was just that one little street light down there back when we were kids. So you can imagine how dark it was. I mean, darker than the inside of a cow on a moonless night, basically. Um, so where was I? So, anyways, we were standing there, we are eating, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, without warning, the whole world lit up. The whole world lit up. Blue is blue. It was a blue that there is no English word for. It lit up. You could see all the way through town. And remember, it's dark as that picture I showed you. I could see all the way down that road, all the way through town. I remember right when the light showed up, I looked around myself. I looked left and right. To the left is a field. You can see all the way across the field, all the way to the next set of roads and houses. I mean, and when I went back and took that picture at night, this is what came out. Just black, just nothing, you know? And that's what we saw until this thing showed up. And everything was clear. It was clarity. It did. I looked around. I noticed I could see everything when before I could see nothing. I look at Marshall and he's staring straight up in the air, transfixed. So I looked up in the air and there it was. It was the shape of a cigar. It was pointed on both ends and thicker in the middle. It was at least 100 yards long. It was at least the length of a football field, maybe 150 to 200 feet in the middle. Um, I'm not an artist, of course, but I want to give you some perspective here. If you see, there's that would be me and Marshall standing there on the hill, and this thing, if you can imagine, though, it's parallel to the road, right over the top of us, parallel above us. Um, Another picture that I tried to draw. So there's the treetops, as you can see. And the craft was just above the treetops. We were down here. So I would say I'm in the tree business. I can look at a tree and pretty much tell you how high that tree is. That was about 65 to 70 feet in the sky above us. Um, and I don't know how long it was there. I don't know how long. But I remember I never blinked. I never blinked once. And everything was dead silent. When that light hit, you couldn't hear breeze, you couldn't hear crickets, you couldn't hear I could actually hear my inner workings. I could hear my heart pumping. And it without I mean with okay, so like I said, I don't remember how long it was there, but without a sound, without any feeling of propulsion, without any whoosh or boom or anything, it was right above the tree line, and then bam, like in a blink, you could see it up in the stars. Our eyes never moved from that point, but it went from there, boom, you could see it in the stars, caught just a little bit like this, and then boom, it was out of sight. Now the strange part here, um, after the ship had left, the light just started floating into the ground. Like if you imagine someone when you were little laying on a bed and someone took a sheet and went like this and it kind of floated down like that, but it was light. As soon as the light passed our eyes, I could see that everything was dark again. You could see everything underneath you now, like you're standing in water, waiting in water. Um, and as soon as that light went past our shoulders, our knees, our feet into the ground, um, we basically dropped everything we had, um, got on our bikes, and just started pedaling as fast as our 12-year-old legs would take us. So Marshall was ahead of me by a few bike lengths. He had a 10 speed, and I just had a cheap little single sprocket BMX, So I remember Marshall ahead of me. I remember him going over the bridge under that street light, hooking a right down that hill toward his house. As soon as my bike tire, I had my head down, I was pedaling, just looking up to see him go around that corner. As soon as my bike tire hit that bridge, my memory is wiped. Um, it's just gone. Um, so now this is the strange part, as if all that other stuff wasn't strange enough. I the next morning, um, I was I was awakened by my neighbor's dad kicking a rubber raft that was in their front yard, and I was asleep in it. Apparently, I had not made it back to Marshall's house. How did I get there? I don't know. So the neighbor's dad was kicking this raft, and I woke up and he asked me, what the heck are you doing in my front yard? And of course I was just like, I I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. Um, um, so he told me, well, get the heck out of my yard. You're not supposed to be here. Um, and this right here, right up the street there from Marshall's, this is the actual house and the actual front yard that I was in, and I was right there, right in front of their house, and my bike was over here. Um, so let's see, where was I here? So, I was still kind of confused, half conscious, but he's like, get out of my yard. So I got up out of the raft, scanned the area. I found my bike. Um, I got on it and I rode that block and a half to my house. So until my regression therapy a year ago, I had no idea what happened to the rest of that night or how I ended up in that rubber raft in my neighbor's yard. Um, it was really the most confusing thing I had ever experienced, or probably maybe ever will again experience. Um, Marshall and I, we didn't even talk to the next day, but we were both just as dumbfounded as the other one, just like, what the heck happened? What was that? Um, of course, the next week at school, I told other kids what happened, but to no surprise, it was met with laughs, looks of disbelief, some unwanted ridicule. But some of the kids did ask me, Marshall, to draw what we saw, and found out that you know they they asked us at different times to draw this thing, and we drew nearly identical pictures. But of course, kids, they just thought we planned it ahead of time or whatever. But I always struggled with the why. Why didn't everyone I told believe me? I needed them to believe, because it was just too big of a deal. I mean, it was crushing to think that people thought I was nuts or was making it up, or I mean, it's hard. It's hard to believe. I get that, but seeing is believing, and I'm forever a believer after this. So see, a short time later, I actually told my dad, told my mom and my dad what happened. And my mom actually said my father and his brother Paul were driving his car down a gravel road when a cigar-shaped object flew into or showed up over their car, and their car stopped working. It wouldn't work. And apparently, after it went away, the car started back up, and they came home and told my mom in a panic what happened. Um, my mom also told me that my grandfather and grandmother on my mother's side also had an experience in their vehicle. This was an orb, though, they said, um, an orb shaped object that was just flying in front of their car. And it just stayed ahead of them as they were driving down a gravel road before it just disappeared off into the sky. Um, but when I told my dad about what happened, he lived 20 miles north of Brownton, where I lived. Um, and when I told him, he looked at me a little shocked, and he asked me if this had happened around 1:32 in the morning. To which I replied, "Yeah, something like that." He then proceeded to tell me that that night, that summer, um, he'd been awake in his house when a bright blue light came flooding through the windows. So my dad wasn't a Boy Scout either, so he thought the cops were raiding his place. So he took off out the back door and started running down the alley. And after a little while, noticing nobody just chasing him, he stopped and realized that the light was not coming from cops or cop cars or nothing, but it was just radiating from the sky. And he said a few minutes later, it fell to the ground. And he told me about the experience about him and his brother too at that time as well. Um, so uh, then my mom told me about those other experiences. So within a month or so of my experience, now I began to notice at night while I was on the edge of sleep my body would just pulse. It would pulse, and then I would see that light, that brilliant, that no words can explain light just flash behind my closed eyes. You know, um, it and immediately my eyes would open and I would be wide awake like I was never even close to sleep. You know that feeling when you're almost sleeping and you feel like you trip over something? You know, it was like that, but it wasn't that because I know what that is, you know, and I know what happened when the flash and the pulse came, you know. Um, so I'd find myself just laying there in bed, like wide awake. And I always had the undeniable feeling that it was them. It was them coming back to check in on me. Um, or for some reason I always felt like they were taking readings. That was the message I was getting. And this happened frequently at first, maybe once every couple months, if not more. And either the visits slowed down or I just became unaffected by it over time. But it still does happen now, every so often, where it will actually jolt me from my sleep. And But not to the extent, not so often as when it first started. And at first, it worried me. I didn't really like it. You know, I was a kid still, and the ideas wherever they're coming and taking me from my bed and doing God knows what. But shortly after the event, I noticed a healed scar on the bottom of my big toe. It was an indent with a scar in the middle of it, but I hadn't had an injury there. I'd never nothing ever you know happened. It just showed up that way, and it showed up healed. There was no healing process. It was just there, you know. Um, um, so I mean, and it was there for years. It now has faded away, but it was really prominent for a very long time. Um, So also, some years later, I noticed, I know you probably can't see it now, but one of my teeth is discolored, a little bit yellower than the other one. Um, and you know, it's no big deal. You know, I did smoke cigarettes, so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that one of my teeth was, you know, yellowing or whatever. But then I went to the dentist and to get a crown on a tooth, and they had to update my X-rays. So the dentist came back from reading the X-rays and asked what happened to my tooth. And I was kind of confused. I said, nothing. Why? And he then proceeds to tell me, well, he tapped on my tooth. He goes, can you feel that? I said, yeah. He goes, it feels like this one? I said, yeah. You know, like, what's going on here? You know, the dentist said, well, you shouldn't be able to feel that. He says, you have no nerves running to that tooth. And I said, what? Why? And I said, where'd they go? You know, like, what are you talking about? You know, and he had no explanation. And I thought I did have an explanation, but I wasn't in the mood to tell a dentist that years ago I was most likely abducted, and they come back from time to time and either implant things in me, or apparently now they take things from me, and I really wasn't sure if my insurance would cover that in conversation. So I left that one alone and just, you know, kept that one to myself. But yeah, for some reason, no nerves running to that tooth yet. I can still feel it, and it's not dying. It's not dead. It's unexplainable. But so whether what for whatever reason or not, you know, Marshall and I both struggled with alcohol and drug addiction over the years after this event had happened. Obviously, when we got older, so, you know, sadly, Marshall is still on that path. I've been clean and sober now for 5 years. Last Thanksgiving. Thank you, appreciate that. Um, it was a hard road, but about the fourth year. Well, I should mention this first. It was probably about 22 years ago. 22 years ago, I had mentioned to Marshall one time when we were hanging out drinking that I was considering regression therapy. And in that second, the second I told Marshall that, he changed. His whole face just was, you know, from happy drinking on it to just like blank stare. And he just started crying, begging, pleading with me. Wait 5 years. He kept saying, please, please wait 5 years. You can't do this right now. You can't do this to us. And I was just thinking to myself, what the heck? I just brought it up. You know, it wasn't like life or death here. You know, I was just telling him, hey, I think I'm going to get regression therapy, find out what happened to that lost time, you know? And he just broke down. He broke down and started telling me that I had to wait 5 years. I just had to. tears running down his face. And then it was over when I said, okay, man, okay, I'll wait. Uh, then everything kind of just went back to normal. Started taking shots again, and he was happy, whatever this can be. Very strange, very strange. And the only weird thing I can put together with that is 5 years later, both of our children were born, same year. Um, he had a daughter and I had a son. They're both 17 now. So I mean, that's the only two things I can. Otherwise, he doesn't know. There's this and until the meeting with Roxanne. Roxanne Lenars is the therapist. She works out of Excelsior, Minnesota, who I went to. Um, I never found it strange that Marshall and I never really had an in-depth talk about what happened that night. Of course, we would get together, we'd be like, dude, what happened? Like, oh my God, that was nuts, but it was always that base level, um, what was it? What could it have been type of thing. You know what I mean? And for some reason, after getting to that point, there was a block. There was just this block where we couldn't get together and just be like, what happened to you? Do you remember this? Do you remember this time, that time? It just never occurred until Roxanne asked, when you and Marshall got together and talked about it, what did you come up with, And I was like, well, we never really did. And for no reason, it struck me, it blew my mind that she asked me all these years later. And then she said, well, do you think they did that by design? Did they put that block between you two to keep you two from putting pieces together and figuring more out? To which I couldn't deny that is a very good possibility of what took place. But yeah, but anyways, about 4 years into my sobriety, I decided that there was no more mistaking that. I needed to know um, what happened to the missing time that night, and I needed to know what happened uh, during those hours. It just so happened that my mom had seen Roxanne for a session of her own, unrelated to any of this kind of stuff, just for her own personal things. But so when I brought up that I wanted to try it, she knew about her. So I wanted to share with you guys that therapy session. I have it recorded. Now, maybe some of you guys are familiar with regression therapy, or have even had it done. Some of you have not, most likely. But it's there's this point where you're in this theta state, and she's asking questions, and you're getting glimpses and pieces of the answers, but you kind of have to push yourself over into a more conscious state to answer them. But while in your mind, you are actually seeing full images and answers, but you just can't get them out. At least that's what I experienced. But listening back to the recording, I know what I was seeing and what was happening. So if you would allow me to play this, and you could just let me know if the sound and everything is okay.
You're cool with questions anytime?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for relating your story to us, Raul. Getting back to the blue light and how it formed, was it sort of like an opening in the sky, or did it just sort of like burst upon you? And the orientation I'm interested in, when you first saw it or became aware of it, was it running parallel to the road, or was it like horizontal? And like I understand the shape of
Yeah.
it because
So
it's similar to an experience that I have had, and the blueness is not a color I have ever seen in an artist's palette anywhere on the palette or anywhere on the planet. It was very,
right.
very unique and very intense. So I don't know if you had that same experience, but if you could
Yeah.
explain that orientation and how it appeared.
Absolutely. So yeah, when the light came, it was like someone just turned on a light switch for the world. Went from dead dark to clearer than noon on a summer day. I mean, there was no lag. There was no. It showed up. No, it was like bloop, light switch on. And when I looked up, yeah, in my picture, obviously I can't draw vanishing points very well. In the picture, it was horizontal, but it was parallel to the road, right over the top of Marshall and myself. Yeah.
Did it
And
cast
this,
any shadows?
that I only shadows from things that the light was probably hitting, the light itself. But the craft itself, I don't remember any shadows on things, but it all happened so fast, me looking to the side, looking to this side, and looking up. And as soon as my eyes met that thing, I was transfixed. I was in a state where I really was in either in shock or I was made to not be able to move. So
The shade of blue that you witnessed, have you
yeah,
noticed, have you seen anything like that before? Not necessarily the light in the sky, but that shade of blue. Have you witnessed that anywhere?
the only time I witness it is when I'm on that edge of sleep and it's behind my eyes and it just flashes like that. The times when I think they're coming back. Other than that, like I said, there's no English word for the brilliance of this light, of the blueness of the, yeah, like you said, no color on the palette that I have ever witnessed in my life before that and or after, besides in that close to sleep state where it flashes behind my eyes.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Raul.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing this and just kind of as it goes, I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm seeing in in my regression that I can't quite get out in my words. I hope it's not too slow for you guys. If you guys get sick of listening to it, let me know. But I think it's very interesting. You guys just let me know if the volume's okay and you can hear well. Um, all right.
What are the very first impressions that you have as you come back down to the surface?
Can you guys hear that okay?
Floating above the ship,
Above the ship. Yeah.
me, I see me when the cloud was coming.
So Roxanne, she can't know what's going on inside my head, but she put me on a cloud and told me to go to the scene um, in this cloud. So that's me coming in on the cloud, and I can see the ship. I can see the ship over the road. I can see Marshall and myself standing underneath the ship as I'm floating into this part time of my life on this cloud that she has me on.
I was imagining flying over that time, but my head hurt.
So as soon as the cloud got to the craft, everything went fuzzy and my head hurt. And you could hear me say right there, and I got to craft, my head hurt. And as soon as the cloud passed the craft, everything went clear again and my head um, did not hurt anymore.
Your head hurt as you were flying over it or hovering over it,
Yeah,
floating over the ship.
yeah.
Why do you suppose your head hurt? And then what happened?
I can see us.
So, anyways, I float down. I'll just find it and boot it back up again. She has me float down like a feather from the cloud, and I do that, and I wind up in the field, um, off to the side of where this event is taking place. Um, I tell her that I'm two people, and I'm saying that because I'm standing in the field and I can see myself up on the hill with Marshall underneath this craft, and I tell her that I'm two bodies and I'm trying to get to my body. When I was in that field, I started walking, but I couldn't move. I couldn't get any closer to myself. And inside, I felt like I wanted to run to that 12-year-old kid and I don't know, either help him or become him, be in that um, event again. I really didn't know what I was trying to accomplish with that, but I couldn't move.
We got a question in the chat, Raul. Recall seeing any particular type of aliens? And maybe you're going to get to that, but that's the question that's out there.
Yep, we will get to that. And yes, uh, there was definitely beings involved. Um, would they like me to answer about that now, or just keep going with the recording? Or
Yeah, owner asked the question. So owner, it looks like they sent it directly to me. If you want to put it, oh, it's up. They say it's up to you.
yeah, well, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Grays is such a cliche term. You know what I mean? But they were four fingered. I remember thumb, three fingers. Um, they did have large heads and eyes. Some of them were big. Some of them were too big. It scared me. You'll hear it in the recording. And some of them weren't. The ones that were actually prodding me and not prod. Well, something they put something in my leg. You'll hear that in the recording too. But they were, um, I guess, for lack of a better term, you could call them grays. But yeah, for now, that's what they look like.
They were poking you?
No,
Here we go. So I'm on the ship now.
What's making them unhappy?
Okay. It stopped my recording, and now I gotta kind of find where I was. I'm sorry about this, guys. Like I said, I'm not as techy as you think I should be. She asked me what I felt when that ship showed up, and I was looking. I just keep saying the word fear there. I was 12 years old. I didn't know what else to feel. So
And what's causing that fear?
the sheer size of the thing actually was awesome. The actual definition of the word awesome was awesome.
Tension.
It was so big.
I didn't know where I was.
Oh, okay. And what are you seeing there? What is it like there?
White.
I remember being in an all white room. It was seamless. Just seemed like light.
I can't get it clear.
That's all right. Now, are you alone?
No,
How can you tell?
fingers.
Fingers.
The
I say
fingers.
fingers. I'm not alone. And I seen the
What do those fingers look like?
here, so I can't describe.
Can't find them. They were
What were the fingers doing?
poking me.
Poking you. And why do you suppose the fingers were poking you?
Flash.
What did the fingers look like? Or the hand?
So
Can't
again,
see.
sometimes it's hard to get the images from
How
that
do you
fade out,
suspect those fingers looked?
but
How
they were
many
like
were
this,
there?
but they were elongated, like they had extra knuckles.
I'm losing them.
That's okay.
Don't think they want me to see.
Oh, okay. It's all right. And what did you see there? Did you see anything
Pain in my leg.
Pain in my leg, I
in the
said.
pain in your leg? What was causing that?
Poke.
Poking. Were they still poking with the finger or were they poking with something else?
Something white. See white.
So I seen white. That's what I could express. But I remember just a long, thin rod. And I mean, it was nondescript. There was no buttons or levers or plungers or anything. I mean, it was just a long, thin white rod, and they were putting it to my leg.
And how did that that pain in the leg, what was that all about?
Just felt it, so I told you.
Okay. And did you tell them when you were there that they were hurting your leg? Or didn't it happen on the ship?
No. Yes.
On the ship? They poked you and hurt your leg?
I see them.
Right.
They're standing.
I could see them now. They were standing. I was laying in that white room, and there was one on each side of me and one down
They're standing
By my-
over you?
my
They're
leg.
standing there?
by my foot.
By my leg.
By your both legs, huh? And what do you suppose they're up to? You can hear what they're saying. Listen closely. What do they tell you? Or what do they say amongst themselves?
Stop.
No, I said stop. Now, another thing that she couldn't possibly know is that, and this gets a little weird, but they were they were there at that time of the event, but they were also with me at the time of the regression. They're hearing her ask me these questions. They're sending me signals. Sometimes it looked like a stop sign, red with the white octagonal around it, just blinking. And in my head, it said, stop talking, stop sharing. I don't understand how that worked, but those are the messages I was getting at the time.
You tell them stop?
No, they tell me stop.
What do they want you to stop?
They're not happy.
Why aren't they happy? How can you tell?
They're thinking it.
It was a
They're
telepathic.
thinking it, so you realize they're not happy.
Yeah,
What's making them unhappy?
Stop talking.
that's the message they
They
gave me.
want you to stop talking? Were you talking to them while they were poking you? Are you saying they're not happy at this moment?
Yeah.
And they don't want you to share anything with me?
Oh, my leg pain.
They got my leg again at that time with the white rod. That's why I said out there.
And what is it that they don't want you to share? You continue watching the scene and learning from it without having any physical sensations. You're just sharing what's happening. Ask them, what is their interest in you? What is their interest in Raul?
There's some lag time here.
Oh.
But they tell me again, stop.
We're just interested in learning.
This part here is interesting. What
We're
happens?
interested in learning and loving and opening our heart to possibilities of understanding.
Now you all heard that kick in, right? That the air conditioner unit that was in her office kicked in. So after she talked about we're just here because we're interested and to learn, understand, and love. So that thing kicked in, and you'll hear me say here, they heard that. Now she didn't know what I was seeing in my mind. She assumed that she heard her asking for, that we just wanted to know information and bring love and all that. She thought I was talking about that, but actually, in my regression, I was laying on the table. They were standing around me, and as soon as that air conditioner went off, they all looked up like that, like they heard it, like they heard what was happening outside in real time. I thought it was very strange, but I don't know. Take from that what you will. This whole thing to me is fascinating. I just don't know any other way to describe it, but fascinating. Um,
Sort of,
They hear that
yeah. How do you know?
about
Did they like what I said about our intentions of why we're here today?
their eyes are not happy.
they did not look happy. They
Their
looked
eyes
very
did not have-
indifferent. I wouldn't say happy. I wouldn't say mad. They just looked serious. So, that's just some, snippets. There's more. I mean, there's an hour and a half left of that. Um, and I wish I had the time to kind of edit it, take out all the empty spaces for you guys. But I didn't have the time to get around to that. I had a lot of stuff going on this week and last week. So, but some interesting things. I I personally feel like you guys might be bored, so I don't want to drag this on.
No,
Uh,
actually, I find it really
but
interesting because some of the stuff about how they're hearing you live or hearing you live is I think is really interesting. I'm guessing everyone else is enjoying it too, but yeah, I think it's great. I'm liking it.
okay, well, I'll continue then. Even without the edits. Oh, and my cat came to say hi. Thank you, Prince. Say hello to everybody. Hello. Ah,
Yeah, I
oh,
got another person in the chat saying it's very interesting as well. So,
okay, here we go.
yep, and another thumbs
What
up.
do
So
they
yeah,
hear?
people are liking it. So,
All right.
So we have connected with them?
Yeah, they definitely connected, without a doubt.
And who are we speaking? Who is listening?
I don't
Where
remember.
are they from?
I don't remember if I say it here or later on. And I don't know if we'll have time to get to it, but we are communicating with something being called Z.
They can surely tell us
What they told me.
if they're from the solar system or from our planet.
When she asked this question, all I got was a flash of a galaxy in my eyes. Didn't give me a specific like a planet, what a planet looked like. It just showed me a galaxy. And danged if I could
We're
pick
from
one out
where?
from another.
You think we are fools?
I think now they were getting a little upset that
Well,
we were invading
can
their.
they educate us? We're looking to be educated. We have questions. Where do they come from?
Flash of galaxy.
There I say, flashed a galaxy.
Like galaxy, does it have a name? Does this galaxy have other humans on it residing there?
I said they're not human. If I had a hard time hearing that
Are
or
there
not.
any
Sometimes I talk pretty
humans
quiet.
found their galaxy? Survivor.
Oh, sure.
Now,
Yellow shirt.
this is interesting. Right there, I said shirt, yellow shirt. And I could never get an answer as to why I said that. She asked me a couple times through this whole thing. But afterwards, we went to lunch, and this yellow car stopped in front of the restaurant, just nondescript, completely yellow car, no decals on it, no name of a company or anything. Two guys inside wearing plain yellow shirts. Just stopped there for a second. I saw them, and then they drove out. And I was like, really? Come on. But I just thought that was strange. There's also a part in here I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to, just for time's sake. Um, but I had a dream. She told me to document my dreams a few nights before the regression. So I did. I documented my dreams. One dream was it was kind of a morbid dream. It was basically bombs were going off in a heavily populated area, and there are survivors or whatever. But she asked who owns these bombs, and I said we do, and she said, well, who's in charge? And I start struggling with the name. I'm like the letters are kind of dropping in front of my eyes, and I'm kind of picking them out and kind of putting them together. And finally, I say General Hayter. Finally, I come to General Hayden, a name that I had never heard before. I don't follow upper politics, war mongers, anything like that. But I'll tell you what, that's the first time I ever heard that name when I re-listened to this recording, and I Googled him. And General Hayden is an actual person, and he was in charge of pretty serious stuff at one point. So that was another strange thing that kind of came out of this whole thing.
Is Hayden Hayden or Heden?
Hayden.
Okay, so I'm figuring everyone's gonna want to start looking that up. So
Yeah, yeah.
What about the yellow shirt?
Shirt.
Explain more about that.
T-shirt.
I really
What are
didn't
we
have an
supposed to
explanation
understand
for it
about this
during the regression.
yellow T-shirt chosen?
A little bit.
Or was this random?
She asked if I was chosen, if it was random.
We expect an answer.
Defiant.
They're being
Do they
defiant.
consider us defiant, or are they being defiant?
They don't want to.
I say they don't want to. It's like they're fighting against giving
They
me
don't want to
answers.
what?
They want to answer. They're not happy.
We're only here to make a connection, to learn from, just to learn from. They're observing us. We're trying to observe them, to learn. We're not fools or being foolish. Let's move away from that seeing. Now, this time, you're standing at the foot of a very large hill.
Well,
The
I don't know if you want to
trees,
listen to all
as you
this,
go
but she
around,
takes me up the
step
hill,
into that
and
clearing.
I'm in a clearing now.
On the other side of the clearing, you see
Um,
another small grove of trees.
So basically, just because this kind of is long, and that's where my spirit guide apparently is. When I get to that clearing in the grove, spirit guide or source, if you will, comes out, and apparently her name is Claire this time around. The next time I did my regression, my guardian or whatever you want to call it, it was a male this time, and his name was Artex. I looked up Artex because again, I'm like, what the heck is that? I don't know, never heard that word before. So I looked it up, and it was some asbestos cover ceiling coating or something like that. And I told her that, and she goes, "Why don't you look up Artex's spiritual meaning?" And I looked that up, and that actually made a lot more sense than asbestos infused ceiling coatings. So, um, let's see if we can't get past this here.
Your guide is what? There's significance behind this, and she's there to counsel and advise you.
I can hear things.
So there's two women outside the
Yeah.
building right now talking.
And
I'm
those
under,
things you hear,
and I say I can hear things. I'm talking about the
describe
girls
more
outside.
about those.
Distracting.
They're distracting me.
Okay.
She thinks I'm seeing something else, but
Well, we can
that's
thank
why it's
her
kind of
for the
hard,
gifts,
The therapist
the box,
and you aren't
the
always,
hug, the love, the
on
peace,
the same level. It's always nice to have the recording to
and
go
let
back
them
and
float and
because
drift,
you remember, what was
float and
happening.
drift. Let's go
So
back up to the cloud, that big white.
Wait, I wanna.
Okay,
now, see, I said I don't
You
want to
don't
go
have
back
to.
up because I felt safe there.
and why is it you don't want to?
Say,
Yeah, I felt safe. In the
You're
feeling.
safe. The cloud is safe. Are you okay with floating up to the cloud again?
yeah,
Okay. You can see it, the big white fluffy cloud, right?
yeah.
And you're back on it.
Um,
You can lay back on it as well.
back.
So my back hurts
Back
right
door.
here.
Yeah.
And if
Let's
you
call
listen,
in source. Let's call in the
she asked for healing.
universal power that loves us dearly, and ask for a healing and a body scan. Let's see.
I don't know if you
Call
guys
you
will be
in
able to hear it,
do a body scan
but
of
my back
Raul.
crack. You can hear it.
He's got some health issues.
Let's see. If I hold the
We so
speaker up.
appreciate your healing him today. And we've been told and are assured by Dolores that the healing will happen today for Raul, making his back more comfortable.
Nice shift.
Yeah,
Right here.
you can shift.
I don't know if you heard that,
I can
but it
move
sounded
the
like
chair.
no.
Do you want me to do that?
Well,
Oh, that felt good.
if I ever meet any of you in person, listen to it. It sounds like someone stepping on a branch. My back just crunk, and it was it was well no, now I don't know if you can check that up to the healing or whatever, but it definitely helped.
And as your healing source, we ask that you heal
Well, we'll skip this.
healing. And we also ask that, but what is the purpose of it?
Again, I'm sorry about the non-editing,
learn.
but time
And who's
eludes
doing
me.
the learning? Are the star beings doing the learning, or is Raul doing the learning? Who is doing the learning?
Yeah.
And who is we? Who are we speaking to? Hearing from?
Z.
Z.
This is who?
Z.
Z. Thank you. Thank you for that. You know, us humans, we like to call things by name. Z, what are you interested in learning by the implant? Measuring what specifically?
Distance.
And you need this measuring distance for what reason?
No. No. I don't want to say that.
Go ahead.
Consumption.
Consumption. Tell me more about that. Consumption. Raul's consumption or Z's consumption?
Fighting.
Share with us what is the issue here? Consumption of what? Measuring consumption of Raul's body or just what?
Not ready.
Not ready for what?
They say we're not ready. That's what they were telling me. We're not ready.
Information.
Not ready for the information.
Okay. We would so appreciate as much information as you can share with us. We want to help. Has Raul helped you?
Yes.
Now, can you help us?
My head hurts.
My head hurt again. And the air conditioner kicks back in.
You can keep sharing and not have any physical experience. Have no physical pain. Let's move away from it. Let's move backward to another appropriate time and place where there is information that Raul is interested in having. You are now at that other place and time, now there, to gain information and learn. What do you see?
See,
What does Z look like? He's big. Does he look like us, human?
no,
What does he look like?
Big.
Great. Just how big is he? Too big?
Is that too big?
Let's ask Z. Why did you have that experience seeing the ship? Was it random? Was there a reason that you saw the ship?
floating, floating.
Floating. Yeah, but you're doing great.
At that point,
Z, tell
I
us,
felt like I was
did
moving
you choose Raul,
up
or
the ship.
was this a
So,
random experience for him and you together?
No,
Chosen now? But when he was a boy and saw the ship, was that random?
Yeah.
Okay. But chosen now, you've chosen him now to share with?
Track.
To track. What's the purpose of your tracking, Raul?
Bishop,
Measuring. And you need to measure what? What information do you want? Measure time? How is this going to help you, Z?
see,
Are you following orders, Z? And who do you follow orders from? Who do you call them? Those that give you orders. Are they happy with the information?
no,
They're not happy. They've got Raul with the implant to give them information. They should be happy. What will they use this monitoring and measuring for?
stay where it's better,
How are they?
cold,
Cold? Does Raul feel cold or does he feel cold?
right there, I'm feeling the indifference of them. Just kind of,
feels that they're cold,
Oh, they're cold. Does he feel their bodies?
cold, their energy,
Energy is cold. I think they're just like that normally. I don't think they have emotions and feelings like humans do. They don't seem friendly, but do they have good intentions?
think they're indifferent.
Indifferent. That sounds normal of them. Are we made in their image? They have a hand in creating us? Or are they just observing us?
So,
Both.
but I don't know who this is now. Who I am.
I said I didn't know who I am because I didn't
You
know
can ask them.
if Z was speaking through me or if I
We
was
can
speaking
ask
for
Source
myself
and the
or
universe. What's Raul's purpose?
Like,
Life. Is it to help life continue? Explain further.
heart,
The heart?
not seeing, I'm hearing,
And what did you hear?
heart,
The heart. And I hope that they are continuing to heal your body as we're still conversing. Because if Raul's body is at optimum functioning, healthy, he can do a lot more for the cause. A healthier body makes Raul more productive. So we appreciate the healing.
yeah, birds,
And
office that's supposed to help. It's birds. You can hear them chirping, but they kept distracting me. So while I was under there, I said, "Damn birds." In case you were wondering what that was all about.
I can put a stop to those birds. Now, what else does Z want to share with us? Or is there someone else there now that has some comments to make? Let's float and drift.
See, I'll skip ahead and see if we can get
You
to
can
some.
move.
carriage,
Okay, so this part was weird for me. She had me drift and
Describe
float
it more.
to another point in time,
black,
and I went
The
way
black
back. I
carriage?
think I went to another lifetime because I saw
black,
myself
bird,
in a
In
Victorian
the
dress.
lantern?
The black carriage, I just said black carriage with a lantern on it.
And what are you doing?
And I was in a,
Standing,
said I'm standing, but
watching.
I remember standing in
Just
like a
standing
cobblestone
watching the
alleyway,
carriage?
just looking at this carriage. And
What's happening there with the
yeah, it was
carriage?
very
And
strange. Very strange.
who else is there
Nighttime.
at night?
Why?
What do you see?
Pain in my side.
What's causing that pain?
Oh, sharp.
On your left side, source, there's another area that we are requesting healing. What are you healing now, source? What have you healed so far?
Back.
Healing Raul's back. How did
Let's see if I can't
Raul
find
get
something
that
here.
body and how his physical experience with his friend? He looks back at it and wants more information.
Yeah.
What else can you tell him about it?
Nature.
Danger? Where's the danger?
Say it.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Knowledge.
For knowledge. And you've said that to us already. You want knowledge. Knowledge about what?
If the knowledge is the danger.
Are you warning us about something? Is there something we should be cautious about? Is there something dangerous in the air going to happen?
Give some.
What did you hear? What do you suppose that was coming from?
Can't tell.
Now, source, does anyone else in Raul's bloodline, are they being observed? Have they had experiences?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Measure.
Measuring. And what success have you had with this measuring?
That.
How has it been successful? What knowledge have you gained from measuring?
Time.
So you're measuring time?
Yeah.
So
And
I keep saying I don't know if we're going to get to this part, but then we end up getting there. But in the case that we don't, she keeps asking the question, like, what's this thing? What's this deal with time and measuring and measuring? Well, eventually I say time is distance. Distance equals time. That's what I end up saying. When I could finally put the words together to come out, that was the message I got.
you gain from measuring time.
Just
Distance. Why is that important? You've said that to us before already here today. Why is this measuring time and distance important?
Honestly, I felt like they were telling me how they travel, somehow bending time and distance.
What's
That's
the
the
end
feeling I got.
result of getting this
I couldn't get it
information?
out, you know. And judging by the way this thing moved, when it moved,
And this
it was not
implant, is
using
that what's taking the
normal.
measurements?
It was not taking a normal. Did not have a normal propulsion system. It was just one place to another with just a blink. It was proverbial blink of an eye, just in a different spot. So somehow they're bending that time. They're bending space to get from one place to another. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I wish I did know, but it was amazing.
Is it activated?
yes.
When was it implanted? When was the implant implanted? When did this occur?
I see the time.
The event is what I was seeing in my mind. The time that the ship came.
Showing me the time.
What do you see?
The time. The space. The spot.
What does that look like?
The road.
That road?
I
That
see us.
they see you?
I see us.
See both of you boys?
Yeah.
How did it happen that they saw you? How would they notice you out of a million people?
Time.
Did they know of you before that night? Did they remove anything from your body that night?
Now this is interesting.
Or add anything?
Yeah.
Which one?
Can't see.
Did they remove something or did they add something?
Oh.
I'm feeling some
What hurt just
pain.
now?
That.
Okay. What did they remove from Raul's body?
Heart.
They
Heart.
removed his heart?
Yeah, right.
And then what did they do?
That's the correct face to make.
What happened?
Of that.
bloodlines, I say. She asked
You're
what I was
seeing what?
seeing.
Bloodline,
Bloodlines. What's important about those bloodlines?
time,
Time. And what is time going to do? What has time done in that bloodline? Are they
Oh. How much time do we have left?
Well, we are getting very close, and someone has asked if you can summarize because I don't think they want to miss the end. So we've got about 3 to 5 minutes, but I do have a question. So I'm kind of jumping back to earlier on. You said the dentist had taken an X-ray and there was no nerves in the one tooth. And I don't know, do dentists keep the old
Mhm.
X-rays? Was he able to compare that tooth X-ray to a previous one and go, "Oh, we've got nerves here," and then all of a sudden there's no nerves? I don't know if they keep X-rays like that or not.
I'm not sure if I'm sure my childhood dentist probably might have my old x-rays on file. No, I wasn't always an insured human being, so I didn't go to the dentist very often.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm gonna be willing to bet, and I'm thinking what you're thinking too. I want to get a hold of them. I should be able to get a
Right,
hold of my x-rays,
right, right. Yeah,
That should
yeah,
be something I should be able to get. I just got to get around to doing it, tracking them down. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
good question.
Yeah, but there's the request to summarize. I think they don't want to miss the ending. They don't want to be left on the cliffhanger. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. So if you want me to just summarize, it's so they take my heart out. They look for at the bloodlines. They put it back. Obviously they put me back. We could not really get a clear answer why I wasn't put back in the same spot as I was taken. Like it's like I was put back, but then when I got to a certain point, it almost like they tried to put a memory in of the rest of the night, but there was a glitch and they dropped me off somewhere else accidentally or something.
that's not unheard of. So yeah.
Yeah, very hard to explain. But then she starts talking about my dreams. This was 2 weeks before the flood in Mankato.
Mhm.
There was a flood and the dam broke, and all the cars in that parking lot were underwater. Well, I had a dream 2 weeks ago that she told me to document, so I did. I had a dream about that parking ramp filled with water and all the cars underwater. Well, then come time for this, that Mankato Dam had broken. And then also the thing with General Hayden, I talk about my dream about the bombs going off and people running and scattering, and yeah, and then I come up with that name somehow out of the air. Um, what else? I mean, I guess I it's hard to summarize. It's hard to summarize. uh, I wish there was time um, to let you hear all of it, but I understand. Um, I mean, I'm not opposed. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to send this out to anybody or whatever, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be opposed to emailing it or something like that if they really wanted to listen to the last 55 minutes of it or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So if you want to just message me and send me your email, I could send it to you if you really want to. So
And could you put your email in the chat maybe so
yeah,
people can grab it?
absolutely do that.
Because I know there's a couple people at least in our group that would want to hear the rest of the recording. So
I know, and I was toying with the idea of shortening up my beginning and playing
right,
the whole
right.
thing or playing the whole thing and or lengthening or it all just culminates sometimes.
Yep, yep, yep. So you feel that your experiences are still continuing and ongoing, then it sounds like.
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
cool.
absolutely. Of course,
So
like I said, it's not as frequent, and sometimes now I can sleep through it or what I think is sleeping through it instead of being jolted out of it. I'll see the flash and I'll just be like, huh, okay, here they are again, because it's been
right, right.
33 years of this.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Wow.
strangely, you get used to anything after a while.
I suppose for better or for worse, I guess. So
Right, right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm gonna see if I can ask everybody.